Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
We got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is Darth Bird? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And with us today, of course, since we're talking Malifaux, we got my good friend and partner, Monsignor Dixon. And then we, I guess, went to the DC, Maryland kind of area and got Nathan to hop on with us as well. How are you doing, Nathan and Dixon?
How you doing? Glad to be here.
I live.
Dixon's alive. Dixon, we got to get a game this week, man. We haven't played in a bit.
Yeah, it's true. Let me know when. I got the MWS game still in limbo. Like, I don't know who my opponent is.
Oh, so how many games do you get in that Malifaux World Series event in totality?
In this one is 4. If I remember correctly, you get 7 days per, and it's not during the month. It's from the event start to the event end, and they set it up so it's 4 different weeks.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and we got Dixon and Nathan on to talk about Lucius. We have had a Lucius 1 episode before, but I feel like it's almost kind of like Seamus, where in this Gaining Grounds, Lucius just feels pretty good right now. I know, Nathan, I think Maeve had to kind of keep you straight on it, but I think you've stayed a lot with the Lucius train.
Yeah, so I started in GG4. I was thinking about trying to go heavy Sonya, and I did a couple games of it, and Jeremy and Jim whipped me so bad that I just couldn't do it. And so I moved over to Lucius, who's always been my favorite master, and just I really jamming games with Lucius too. And played mostly the same list for about, between practice games and Captain Con, about 20 games. Yeah. And he ran and definitely fit the GG really well.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this, Nathan, and I want to get kind of your opinion on this too, where it's like, I was kind of surprised at Captain Con in the Booty and Plunder event, right? Because I actually, after the second round, because I played the same list, I just played, Molly, and the core of it was, Molly, 2 Kruligans, and Archie, and then just throwing in there the Dead Rider, a Valedictorian, and Sloth. And I just slammed that same list down because it was just running really well. So the more I kind of think about it, the more I'm like, when you find a good generalist list like that, just how you can just keep running it and just, you're going to win. Once you get good with a solid list like that, you could probably win most of your games without changing a thing.
You can just say the strongest thing in Malifaux is the player. Like, you can tier players now.
Yeah.
I think both those things are true, but I think there's something else at play. I think, especially for tournaments, a lot of your tournament, your TOs, they don't randomize their pools. They're going to do bespoke pools. They're going to go through and try to make sure that they're balanced, trying to make sure that the pools aren't too much one thing or another. And while that's good, because I think if you randomize, you can end up with some really crazy pools that really emphasize one thing in GG4. But that does mean that your generalist crews that can do one can usually do all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. So if you just build like a solid list that, can take all of that, you really can, take advantage of that situation. Because I do feel like most TOs don't want to do like 100% scheming or 100% fighting. They put a good balance of it, which is, I think, really good.
Yeah, I call those TOs cowards.
Dixon's like, nah, let's just fight.
Yeah, because no, that's not true. You see me make
I know.
Yeah, the only time that I did exactly what you're describing was for this tournament that you made, and that was specifically because I wanted to do an experiment.
Yeah, but before we get into the lovely Lucius talk, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that on Twitter. You can see the Discords usually popping off, a lot of different topics and things going on there. We also have the YouTube channel. And if you want to support us directly, you can do that at patreon.com/RageQuitWire. And then we also have an affiliation link at Give Us Your Money, Please. Thank you weird.com/RageQuitWire. Any support's great. We love cranking out content for you. And I've got a pretty good cadence going now with the mix of Guild Ball / Malifaux. We're still doing about 3 to 4 Malifaux podcasts a month because that's not going to change. And then I've also been throwing in at least one monthly Guild Ball podcast. So if you're interested in Guild Ball, we are starting to put out monthly content for that as well. And if it keeps growing and people get back into the game, that'll be cool to see that happen. But Dixon, a lot of Guild Ball happening in Puerto Rico.
The only miniature game that people play here is 40K. It is so sad. It's so sad.
I had to send Dixon the meme of the White Scars player being sad because they couldn't deploy in the opponent's backfield.
I send that to the Discord. Don't try to take credit.
Well, no, I didn't send it to the Discord. Somebody posted it actually in the Guild Ball Discord. And
okay.
It wasn't you. And I was just like, Dixon, is this you?
No. It is a relic of gaming history.
Yeah.
If you haven't, I don't know if you ever heard of that story before, have you?
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic because I think anyone that ever played 40K, if they didn't play that list, played against that player.
Yep. Yeah, it's the power gamer that it's like, oh, this is a broken rule in the game, and there's always going to be a handful of people that try that broken thing.
Win a game without ever rolling a die roll. That's, I mean, come on now.
So let's talk about Lucius2 specifically. We might mention Lucius1 here and there as we kind of just casually go through the conversation. But I think when I look at Lucius2, there's a couple reasons why I like him in this Gaining Grounds, and you two being very good Lucius players can kind of, can chime in wherever. But Lucius just seems really good to me. One, because his crew draws a lot of cards. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on it, Nathan, because when I was playing against you in the team tournament, you had your reps in such a way where you knew that, okay, I'm going to attack my own model. That's going to cause me to do an action, draw a card. And, you filter your hand really well and you draw a bunch of cards. So that's the one thing. Also, it's a pretty hard to get a bead on Lucius because he has, the hidden passage or secret passage. And, so he's going to be where he wants. He's stat 7 on the attack. I think he has inflexible morality. So you got to I think you got to pitch a card to hit him on a straight or something like that. Also, he puts out conditions, mostly staggered. He has a stat 7 with some crit strike built in there and a positive if you have staggered on you. He puts out a free scheme marker at the beginning of the turn. So just a lot of really great things happening in this Gaining Grounds where you want mobility, you want schemes, and you want to be able to, get rid of a problematic model when you need to.
So I just want to clarify too, that scheme marker that he drops also gives him a suit. So it kind of guarantees a crit.
Or something else he needs, or his crew needs.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of my unpack card engine, actually, is that scheme marker.
Yeah, and also I find it really interesting that he has a better lure on his card, where it's he's yeah, come down this path, my friend, Shank, and he can. And the thing that I find kind of absurd about it is he can do the attack, so he can bring you out of cover or bring you out of concealment or what, because it ignores concealment for whatever reason, and then just he can shank you or a friend can shank you, and it seems really good when you see it happen.
It's good, but it's card expensive, so you have to be careful with it. This Lucius1 is a little card expensive, but he builds his own cards back. This one doesn't, and he's very card expensive, which was a big part of my build. He'll get you one card, sometimes two, but he wants your severes.
Yeah,
bad, and he wants a 7 or higher, usually of crows for the Secret Passage. So he's of the two, he's definitely the card hungry one, and you need the rest of your crew to not need those high cards because he's going to use them.
I mean, I just find it funny that you're saying that he's card hungry when you still draw like between 3 and 4 cards per turn, and you consider that still card hungry. I just like what?
So, because you almost, because he's a 2/3/5, you want that severe on the damage. You want that trigger, preferably not spending stones for it, and you often want to leap. So that's going to be that's just a lot, and no one's going to let him hit on a straight if they can help it. Like, you'll hopefully be hitting with focus, but they're not going to let you hit for straight unless you're cheating in 12s, 13s. So you need to build your crew to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so I agree with you that he uses a lot of cards. That is true.
Yeah.
But I just love the comment that he's card hungry when he's still one of the masters that draws 3 to 4 cards. As a Pandora player, she's super card hungry, but she draws like maybe 1 card.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why part why he's good. Like,
yeah, and I was going to say
Absolutely.
also, when I was playing against him, it's also one of those things where you almost have to just kind of be like, okay, he's going to come into something and probably kill it. I need to try to make him use as many of his good cards as I can, and then just try to weather the storm. And if they find more good cards, you're kind of in trouble. So
Yeah.
turn 1 and 2 can be pretty dicey.
The activation control has been very big. I want to say lately, like it's been good always throughout the game, but ever since like Yoko 2, people and Jin and Frodsham and stuff like that, people have been trying to figure out ways to increase or decrease their activation control, blah blah blah, right? But Lucius 2, his activation control, as memey as it sounds, it's murder. He goes in, kills a model, and dips out. It's like, all right, I'm out. It's like, oh, I went up in an activation and I killed a totem or I killed a support model.
You play him differently than me because I don't usually tend to activate him till close to the end of the turn. So I'm not getting that activation control with him. That was one of the things I think back in both of my losses were against things that could generate pass tokens. That was a real problem for me.
Well, Pete lately forced that out of me because he played Molly for a huge chunk of our games. In Molly, she gets to reactivate models. So therefore, I had to develop different strategies.
There is nothing like being the Molly player and having 3 activations, and those activations are like Archie, Ryder, and Valedictorian. And it's like, cool, this is your last activation, right? All right, let's see what you do. And then if you go in too deep, you just get pounded by those 3 models.
Yeah, that's scary. I'm glad I didn't run into that.
But that's a huge reason why the whole shenanigan that I was talking about. It's just like, I have to kill a model. Great.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, Nathan, you did pretty well at Captain Con. I mean, you finished 3-1-1. And did you play Lucius in all those rounds?
Yep, played Lucius both for all 5 of those and all 3 of the content creators.
And did you run generally the same list, or did you change it up a bit?
The exact same list the whole time.
So, so what's that list that you ran?
So that's got Lucius has got a leadline coat. We've got Alan and Klaus as our henchmen. We've got a watcher, a lawyer, the steward, the false witness, and a changeling. And then the totem, the scribe. That's 9.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, so it's a very mobile crew. It's got a lot of defensive tech. It's kind of, do you generally try to keep a bunch of the crew together? Because I know when you and I played, it seemed like your gang kind of generally hung out together, and Lucius was the one that would extend out to kind of deal with threats.
Lucius will extend out, and then once the Watcher's done his job on turn 1, he'll extend out, and sometimes the Changeling. But yeah, I've got Klaus, Scribe, and Alan, and usually the lawyer.
That's such a bubble of just nonsense, man. It's just, can you kind of describe? So Dixon and I know what that feels like to set that up, and me as a player playing against it, how miserable it can be. I mean, what kind of auras does your opponent have to deal with going into things like, Klaus, Allen, and whatever the third the scribe? What kind of nonsense you have to deal with?
Scribe's got his discard a card to cheat aura, 6 inches.
Yeah, it feels.
You want to take him out or it's miserable. You've got Allen's got the no bonus actions aura and born conversation. Klaus doesn't do auras himself, but does a lot of slowing and staggering things, making things miserable.
Yeah.
And then the false witness has the 2-inch exclusive interview aura, the 2-inch no negative on willpower duels aura, and if you use it, and I almost never do, the potential for a 3-inch no cheat aura.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that some of the people that you played in that tournament and maybe other events as well, like, do you just see it in their eyes when they realize it was a mistake for them to jump into the middle of your crew?
Yeah.
Like an oh no look.
Yeah, it's a bog down of pretty like usually it's the bonus action, like they'll play out their whole turn, start doing it, and then say their bonus action, and as soon as I remind them,
they're like, "Oh no!"
Yeah. It's every single time because like you don't see him often. Freaking!
Oh, I love Alan Reed. I love him.
Well, you are a very small minority. Sure. Even I don't play him as much. I play him whenever I see it's like, okay, so do I need diversion? Like literally, that's the thought that goes into my head, and if I figure it out correctly, then he's huge. He's huge. But like some games, I don't need him. At least in my opinion.
I was really low on him. I actually put him in this list for after hearing, I think Legislat talked to you all in your guild episode, and he had talked him up. And I had been thinking about him, and part of the thing was I realized I could really make him draw a lot of cards turn 1 and then still move him up 8, which was plenty, or move him up 7, which was plenty. And that was really my turning point on him, that I can get 3 cards out of him turn 1 90% of the time.
Yeah. He's also one of those models that's surprisingly hard to kill with a lit line code. Like,
yeah, I didn't even code him. Yep. I left him free, and he died sometimes, but he was my MVP.
Oh, wow.
He ruined people's games consistently.
Yeah. That's his job. That's like so weird. I just haven't actually, like, whenever I like I said, it's like I pick him whenever I think that's like, okay, I think Alan Reed is good here. And he just does just masterfully.
I think he's better in this GG because people need actions to do their schemes.
Yeah.
So, like, if they're going to go after him, they're going to be struggling with that. And he's slowing them, so that's making it hard for them. And then the other thing with him is he can go to the middle because the entire crew isn't beating on him. If in GT3 the entire crew was going to beat on him, now they're not.
Well, I also just feel like in this gaining grounds, like anytime you can make your opponent's actions less efficient, it's gonna matter because there are a lot of pools where you got to throw a ton of AP just to score. I mean, because in like Cloak and Dagger, I think you need, what is that? You need 1, then you need 3, then you need like 9 or 11 interacts just to score just on the strat without your opponent stealing any of your stuff. So being able to put that out, you put out a good amount of staggered with this crew as well. So that slows them down from getting into position. So yeah, I think Alan Reed is just really solid in this. Plus now you have, and I'd like to hear you guys' opinion on the Changeling, because I feel like the Changeling, it wasn't a nerf, it was just a change. I think
it was a massive nerf. Let's be honest here.
I agree it was a nerf. But I think
they're still useful.
It's a massive nerf.
Oh yeah, he's useful, but
yeah,
you can't say it was like, oh, it was not a nerf. It's like, come on now.
What'd they have? That was pretty good.
In Lucius 1 or in Lucius 2 before the change, he could secret passage.
Yeah, that seems good.
It's a 4-stone mile secret passaging around. I'm not saying he's not good now, and there's a lot I was able to use him for in this. Like he's probably generally more useful, but in terms of the like
Power.
top end I'd use them for, I prefer the old one.
That's fair.
100%.
It's a small.
Yeah. The I don't like him. I'm not a hater on him. It's just that I haven't found a value on the changeling, because I learned that the girl from Grimm, she's not a mimic for some ungodly reason.
Yeah.
Who Hildebrand?
And that was it. That was what killed it in any of my lists. I was like, but this is the reason why I bring it. I bring the changeling so you can hang out with her, and now you can't because she doesn't have mimic.
Yeah, that came up I was playing in a Grow League tournament this weekend. That came up in one of our games. My opponent was running Lucius.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just going to say, I feel like if you were playing a new player who was playing Lucius, I feel like you're a lot like Ron Swanson at, Ace Hardware or something, where you're just like, I know more than you about this.
So this is a guy that goes to my club. I know him pretty well. We had done a practice round either Tuesday or Thursday where I was basically teaching him the crew. And I was saying, okay, now, no, don't do it like that. Do it like this because you'll draw a card. Do this.
Oh, good. You have disciples that you're training to run Lucius nonsense. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
That actually is a huge help.
But then this game, and I'll say I have no chill once the game starts. I'm
gonna learn today.
Yeah.
Gonna learn today.
And, I think that's important to know even if you're running it in red. I mean, we did the Lucius episode, and when I had James on, we actually called the list was called Blunt the Knives, because he was talking about using Lucius in the starter box to really kind of nerf it, an alpha attack that kind of comes into Lucius. And I feel like you can do that, maybe not to the extent because you don't have all of the nonsense, but you can still neuter your opponent pretty good with this crew. Yeah,
I mean, in my game with Landon, he went in hard on me with Huggy and McCabe 2. And I managed McCabe 2 pretty well.
Yeah.
And put down Huggy. Like, McCabe was being managed by all those auras and slows and staggers and stuff. It was, honestly, I expected them to just melt, and it went pretty well.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a very close game.
Yeah, you only lost it by a point.
Yeah, like that was impressive, knowing like
double master.
He has whipped me on several occasions, so it felt good to get close. I really felt like I blew it at the end, but that's what a good player does to you too. If you don't play it just right, they're going to get you.
Also, can we talk about this cancerous game between you and Nick, where you're playing Lucius, and also he's playing Nelly? Like, that has to be the worst game ever.
Misery.
What I really noticed about Nick in that game, two things. Number one, he's always a great opponent, but every time I thought I had him in just a no-win situation, he was so good at like creatively getting out of it.
Yeah,
that like it was really impressive. It was a fun game, and I really thought I was. There were a couple times where I was like, I'm in a masterful position here, and then he'd be like, you know what? He triple walked with Nelly on me, and I was like, you triple walked with Nelly?
The Dixon special.
The Dixon.
Yeah, he's got. I get stuck in patterns in play sometimes, and he's really good at avoiding that. It was really awesome.
That's why Captain Con and other events like that, where you get different metas, is so interesting, because your meta can get used to playing a certain way, where it's like, oh, this is the correct play, or that's the correct play, and then you get somebody like Dixon or Nick or myself who just plays something sideways, and you're just like, I wasn't expecting that, but cool.
Yeah, it's a big wait. What's going on here?
One of my first tournament experiences of M3E was driving to the NCGT, and that Craig threw, and I played against Jesse there, who I don't think plays Malifaux anymore, but he also plays Guild. And it was a Nelly Lucius cancer off pre-titles, but he used Lucius in a way I had never thought of. And that was so cool to see. Things like copying the obey and then stoning for the suit was something I never did in my Lucius play. And he really he gave me a little lesson that day. Like he whipped me pretty good.
Yeah.
Him and Brandon Lynch both
Ah.
piled into me pretty
Oh,
hard.
Brandon, man, that talk about a person who plays a little sideways. I played a lot against Brandon Lynch, and he's a pretty solid gamer, and he always finishes in the top part of a tournament, and he just plays a little different, and it's nothing you can put your finger on. He just has these moments where it's like, oh well, I'm going to try to do this, and I think this will be fun, and then he does something that's like, well, that wasn't fun at all because now I'm losing.
Yeah. I think like my favorite moment of that was like he's playing Nelly against me, and all of a sudden both Bad Juju and Hinamatsu are slow, stunned, and distracted, and I'm just like, wait, what? What just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and getting back to Lucius though, I mean, you say or not Klaus, you say that Alan Reed is kind of an MVP. I feel like Klaus does a bunch of work though that people don't expect if they haven't played against him, because there's nothing amazing on his card. So can you kind of walk us through why Pete hates Klaus so much? Because there's a lot of reasons there, I think. Shut up, Dixon. You know he's a pain.
So being able, the one ability that makes him be treated as a friendly for a bunch of stuff is very hard to mentally plan for, because there's so many. There will be things in your card that just don't work at all, and that rarely happens. So you end up not being able to deal with them the way you usually would. Then on top of that, making someone discard a card really just sets a tone for a lot of the other stuff Lucius does, and the ability to pull a high card into your hand sets up Lucius's killing, because you get that 13 of Rams. Yes, that's a kill card there,
Yeah.
and there's not much to be done about it, and he can do it consistently.
Yeah, and I feel like also he puts out slow, and keep in mind, Sharp Wit's something that could just happen with Nelly pulling a model out into Klaus's range. But also he has incessant questioning, which once again puts out staggered, pings you for some damage. But there's been a lot of times Dixon's done that to me where I've just taken 3 or 4 damage. And then also just like, hey, we're going to make you discard more cards. So that's fun as well. So after Klaus's activation, you could easily have like 2 or 3 cards missing from your hand.
I think there are times when it's worth it to cheat that bonus just to make them likely discard a second card. So they cheat up over you, they discard for betrayal, and then we discard another one. And that's just, it's incredibly painful. Yep. Being able to take advantage of the false witness's aura, though, on that incessant questioning, so you're attacking them at a neg, is really nice.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think it's kind of one of those annoying things where Dixon just will look at my hand and be like, how many cards do you have left? Oh, you only have 1 left? Well, let's activate Klaus. Yep. Don't know what you were saving that for, but it's gone.
It is out of here.
And then you know that's just a 3 damage bonus action.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a thing that I noticed about Klaus is like he can be easily misplayed. I think one of the main reasons why I lost this last game in the tournament was because of that, because I think I misplayed Klaus pretty bad. And the same thing happened when I played against Beard. We played, and I had no idea what to do with Klaus when I was playing against Brewmaster, because I got shocked and on. I don't know if you heard about that game, but it was pretty bad. Beard did really good, yeah.
Did you feel you were mispositioned with Klaus? What was the...
In those 2 games, I'd say that I did. And then I wasted an entire turn with Klaus. Like, wasted. Mm-hmm. I got the card that I needed out of the discard pile, but I dirtled with him, exactly. So
yeah.
So
you do kind of want him in the right spot. If he's not there, then you're going to waste a future turn.
Because the thing is, like,
that could be painful.
You want most models, basically, where the spot where they are is like super important, right? So that's not new. We're not talking about something like, but with Klaus, it's like you can easily waste everything about him, and it's an 8-point model. You usually don't want to waste him.
There's so much good text on him that when you learn to leverage it, it becomes a little oppressive, but you can easily waste it if he's out of position.
Yeah, you can very easily waste Klaus. That's I guess my point.
I agree. I struggled with him at first. I'll say I think this is another one where I think the GG liking Sharp Wit was a big change for him. But I wasted him a lot at the start, and I think I only started getting good use out of him when I came back to Lucius 2.
Now, speaking of Sharp Wit, so pocket full of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't come up every game, but there's some games where I feel like he can steal a nasty trigger onto a model that he's just going into. And the one that I always go back to where it's like, it was just so ridiculous is I was playing Sandeep and Dixon comes into my crew and hits my wind golem to get the pouncing strike trigger. And then he jumps into another model and gives that other model slow. And it was just so much nonsense that I just had to take Bonasuva and just toss him 10 inches into the deployment zone because I was like, this can't keep happening. Just go away.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. I have only once, I think, gotten a good enemy trigger out of it.
Yeah.
And that was I think Neil Henry may have had a stun.
Oh,
He had an electroshock trigger.
Yes.
Or a stun, and I stunned Neil Henry. That was pretty nice. What I use it for more often, though, is I'll attack my Watcher, get coordinated strike to let my Lawyer attack the Watcher, and then I'm getting the card for the Lawyer attacking the Watcher.
Yeah, that was the thing on turn one that I was kind of like, and you know, I was talking to Trevor after that team tournament because I was telling him, because I was just like, man, it was really cool to watch Nathan run that. Because if it was Trevor playing you, Nathan, he would have not known anything you were doing just because you were rattling through it and be like, I'm going to do this and coordinate attack. I'm going to do that. I get slow there, but then I get to draw a card and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to remove that and do this. And, you know, even me knowing what's going on, I was just like, yep, that's a bunch of Lucius nonsense and you know what you're doing. So I'm going to let you do it.
It's hard with clocks, I'll say. Like, I got really used to both doing it and rattling off what I was doing because I didn't want to burn clock on it. And I had 9 models and a lot of dirtle.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even ask you what you're like, because I could have slowed it down and been like, okay, wait, what's this trigger on that? But I was just like, yeah, he's got it. Clearly Nathan knows what he's doing there, and I know mostly. Like, I was keeping up with most of it, but there are a couple of triggers where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to grant it that that's actually a thing. I'm not even going to worry about it.
That's, I guess, a potential issue with it, especially with clocks.
Well, playing Sandeep, it's the same way. Like, when you have a complex crew that has a lot of interactions within itself, you really have to kind of like, when I played against a couple people, I stopped to explain it briefly. But, you know, if they didn't stop me, I'm just rattling through it like, okay, now this mantra is going to trigger, this is going to happen, that mantra is going to trigger, boop, boop, boop. And you just got to get your reps so you can just crank through it. And I never clocked. I don't know how you did on clock, but I never clocked as Sandeep.
I clocked one game, and it was one where I think I forgot to flip it over a couple times.
Well, I did have to remind you like 5 times to clock it over in our game, Nathan.
yeah, I'm not good about it. I will say I'm not good about that for sure. You were very good about reminding me.
I even had to remind you of your scheme a couple of times, like, hey, don't forget your free scheme.
Yeah, were we the third game of the day, or were we the second? Because I was already brain dead.
We were the second.
Okay. Yeah, after Sam had really put me through my paces game 1, and I was a little brain dead already.
Yeah, Sam will do that, man. He's a tough opponent.
He's legit.
All right, so we got Klaus. I mean, the other stuff's pretty normal kind of Lucius stuff. False Witness just seems good for stuff like Ensnare and all this other crap that you just put scheme markers out and score.
Yeah, this is, again, just like Klaus, I hadn't really gotten him rolling until this list. Partially because you have those things like Ensnare, like the one where you're just piling up markers. Even Espionage, getting out some early markers is great. But the thing that I really noticed with him is being able to throw out that adversary means you can make things like your surge triggers, your obeys with the Lawyer a lot more likely. So it gives you kind of another option on that as well. I still probably the piece that I'm most comfortable taking out of the list, if anything, comes out. But it got me in snare a bunch of times. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're generally just solid. Like in this GG where you want ski markers down, I mean, false claim is just really good.
Yeah.
I
I
did
think
want.
the MVPs of the ensnare have been hustlers, but
Yeah.
like false witnesses, like I said when we were doing the errata stuff and the GG4 stuff, false claim going up in stock is actually gonna make those models be picked. And
Yeah.
think about before you didn't see any false witnesses, so now seeing them
Yeah.
every now and then,
Hmm.
that's good. That's good for the game.
I was going to say, because I do want your opinion on this, Nathan.
Yeah.
What do you think of this White Eyes model?
Um, so I run White Eyes in Lucius 1 sometimes. I have some lists that run White Eyes. I don't hate him. I truly believe that the canceling cheats and then using terrorize with I've got your back
Yeah.
is where he's really going to shine, or where it's really going to shine. But I've not made that work yet. I have a list with a couple gunners and Lucius 2, because the gunners can generate additional general actions, which are going to generate that pulse.
Yeah.
But it's more jank than good, I think.
Yeah, I've seen Dixon try it a couple times. I wasn't too impressed with it.
Leadline Coat goes a long way on him.
Well,
but-
I mean, it's amazing how much just putting a coat on somebody just makes them a little bit better.
yeah,
Oh, no.
and that coat's in high demand in that crew, so I don't know.
Why would you put it on him? Alan Reed is right there. Like, why would you put it on?
I told you, Alan doesn't need it. He's fine.
No, but you get my point. It's like, if I'm going to put it on... Okay, I personally love Kavatica in Guild.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually get a lot of value out of him. Unfortunately, I need to play him at like the tournament level more, because I have had some people kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I know for a fact that he's like super hard to kill, and
Yeah.
he's cheap, and he gives you cards and blah 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 blah. Right? So that's my pick instead of picking White Eyes. I don't know about you, but it's been working so far.
I don't hate. I use him kind of when I need a more durable scheme runner, but I don't like it because unless Lucius is jumping out there, I don't have someone to creep along towards usually.
Okay.
I like him. I like him into Ivan as anti-summon tech. You pick all your stuff that you think he's gonna that doesn't have stealth, and you make them so that they can't have concealment anymore. And then all of a sudden, he has trouble getting his suits.
Yeah.
Gifts. Yes.
I like that, but it's still, it's not, it's kind of janky. But I will say, going back to White Eyes for 1 second, the trick I like is the Guild Mage and an Investigator in White Eyes. And you need to get some more heals on White Eyes. You got Interrogate right there. Throw Interrogate on White Eyes. He has to discard a card. You get the heal.
Interesting. Got to pull up the other half of this crap. Yeah, I mean,
mean that's an incredibly expensive combo. Just saying.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean,
that's 20.
there's a
what,
reason
21
that
points?
the list that I did play Captain Con got played, not this other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry,
so
it's just like, have there been people that get value out of White Eyes? Absolutely, especially when you can like spasm or rack every turn, because you can get coordinated attacks, you can give him obey, blah 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 blah. And I get it. He can be good. It's just he's not as I don't think he creates as much value as other models.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Again, it's going to be I think it's very dependent on your opponent too. I think you see min three, he's a lot worse than in the min two. I think things that can really splash, like there's a trick Landon uses to do red Joker punches with Jacob too. Because you use the rig to put the red Joker back as the third card.
yeah.
Or second card, so you're doing that on the damage. That's real painful for him. But like, otherwise, he can be a lot to take down. Messed with Domadors with him. I've tried a couple things, and it's mostly jank, but it's definitely fun for eventually something that feels like jank will end up being really good, and that's where I think he's going to come out.
Yeah, and I also looking at another game that I think was pretty interesting in Captain Con, you actually played against Karis, and it was round 2, and you got a draw. And that was only a 3-3 game, so I guess the fire just kind of caused problems for you in that one.
That one was so interesting because I've never beaten Miscellaneous before. We've played at least one other time online. I've never beaten him. He's a good player, and he plays really smart. What he did, and I didn't realize quite the glass cannon / scheme runner that Firestarter was, because I haven't seen him on the table. And Firestarter MVP'd that game. Okay. But he used Karis to make me stay honest with Lucius. And the burning was an issue, and the saboteur sat in his back line. And again, another model I haven't faced. Don't mind me and Arson.
Yeah,
was the nightmare scenario, because I was trying to do the drop a scheme marker in his deployment zone.
And he just kept burning it up.
and power ritual, and yeah, he was just like, "No, you're not doing either of those. Good luck." And that was why it was so low. I think I got 2 strat points and a single scheme point, because that saboteur dominated my game, and I needed to send Lucius after him, but Karis kept me back.
Interesting.
I've seen these guys on the table, but I've never actually seen them do anything crazy. I would like to know that matchup.
Which one? The Saboteur or Firestarter?
The Saboteur, sorry.
So, in this case, it was, if I had known what he does, I probably don't take the schemes I take if I had taken the kind of time to read the cards. But him as a goalie, just defending that corner deployment from those 2 schemes was...
Well, I also don't think
utterly crippling.
Because it's one of those things, right, when you're in a bigger event where you don't know how they're going to use each model. Yeah. So you kind of look at it and be like, okay, I mean, yeah, he can go do stuff, and then you realize what they're going to use him for, and you're like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that is not good for me.
In corner, people don't often leave a model back to goalie the schemes. And that was a really savvy play by him.
I did that in that round, I did that with my necrotic machine. I was like, he's just going to stand on this back marker and just deal with whatever comes back here.
Yeah, I think that even against speed, I've only done that 2, maybe 3, 4 times. Out of the dozens of games that me and P have played, the most recent one that I can remember was I played Tall and he played Yan Low, I think it was, and I left a model back there, and that was it. It's just exactly what you're saying. It's it's a goalie model.
That model was the stupid guy with hard to kill, whatever his name is.
No. This is the one where I'm shooting you down range with the ballista thingy, the Huacha. It's the gremlin guy.
Yeah, I know, but you also kept Watson back there too.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I left 2 models, but it was for that purpose. It was a goalie move. Exactly what Nathan was talking about.
Yeah, pull the goalkeeper. So, I mean, do you find, to me, this list just kind of lends itself to being kind of a schemey list, but like I said, kind of scalpeling out problems with Lucius.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty much how it played out most of that big event with you?
Oh, absolutely. So the entire idea is, in GG4, you've got an incredible demand on your actions, more than any other GG I've ever played. So if you can kill 2 small scheme runners with Lucius and get 5 free scheme markers, and then your crew otherwise doesn't really kill, but is a efficiency drain.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of slow, lots of stagger, ability to pick up markers, things like that. It becomes really hard to score points.
Yeah.
And that was really the whole plan. I get to be enough cards that Lucius is, as you said, 2 turns of killing, and then he needs to go scheme. And when I didn't do well was when I didn't go scheme properly with him after 2 turns.
Yeah, I think it's really, and this is why I think Lucius is really good, but I also think he's kind of tough for people to play, because it's just even this version of Lucius, it's very easy to dirtle. And then with Lucius Dishonorable, it's also easy to go after the wrong thing. Because I know there's a lot of times where when I see a Lucius2 player take Lucius into something that he can't kill very easily, or if they send him to go scheme and now he's kind of out of position for a turn or two and he has to use too many secret passages to get where he wants. That's really where I feel like Lucius players struggle. So do you have any kind of tips for, like, I don't know, how do you try to rein yourself in from misplaying like that?
I look for one-shot kills. I wanted your Gokudo way before I wanted Kenshiro, but Kenshiro happened to be there and needed to be done.
Dude, I was so mad when I forgot about the cleansing trigger where you just ignore, because, you know, I bring Gokudo because they're hard to kill. It's like, okay, you got to spend 2 swings on them. And then you said the cleansing. I was like, I forgot he ignores hard to kill. I should have brought the Komainu. And that really, I think that won you the game because, I mean,
it would have been very hard for me if you had Komainu, for sure.
Yeah, well, and it just, once again, this GG is about, you know, AP efficiency, and I have these very fast scheme runners that just died. Whereas if I just would have, once, kind of like what you said, if I would have read the card and been like, oh yeah, I can't bring them because Lucius2 can just, you know, one-shot him essentially, then I just be like, yeah, the Komainu can survive a little better.
But this is a GG that incentivizes those cheap runners.
Yeah.
So your opponents usually have them, and you can make those kills. And then if I can make you scheme, like, a little different because you had Manos and Archie, but a lot of crews, they have stuff that does not want to be scheming ever. And if I can make people scheme with those, that's best case scenario.
Yeah, Dixon, in our game that we played in the team tournament, he crashed down and killed my, you know, Gokudo and killed, you know, Kenshiro. And I basically had to hard swing my crew up the right flank just to kind of try to make him work for it. And kept it close till the last turn, I think.
Yeah, and it
was a tough game. I felt like I was losing most of the game.
Yeah,
that swing to the side really took advantage of the fact that I don't have a ton of aggressive mobility except for Lucius. And it, by triple marking both back markers, you really put some pressure on me to use a lot of actions.
Yeah, he told me that he forgot hard to kill, like the fact that Lucius ignores it with the pro trigger, and that was like the big one because like he could have played the dogs, which would have given him a little bit of more leeway.
Yeah, and it doesn't take Lucius wasting too many actions for this crew to struggle. So if you can make him waste just a couple actions, it becomes a lot harder.
Well, I had to be careful too because, I mean, Lucius is also very good at just killing Archie. So I had to kind of keep, because you have Ruthless, your stat 7, you got decent damage track, and I'm just kind of like, I've played against Dixon before where Lucius just gets pretty close to just killing Archie in like 2 swings.
Yes, and I have to give a shout out to the best model in my opinion in Guild for Lucius, the Governor's Proxy. I forget his name all the time.
Scribe.
Thank you. No, not the Scribe, not the Scribe.
Stewart. Oh no, Stewart's in my list. That's who I forgot. I forgot the Stewart. He's in there because he gives me my focus.
He gives double focus to Lucius before he goes. Like, that is insane. Because that's how you kill Archie.
You guys are bringing the Stewart back. You know, it seems like he was all over the place in like GG0 and GG1. And people kind of forgot about him because of the stupid guild, whatever you call it. The
mages, yeah.
Yeah, the guild mage. And you kind of didn't see the Steward, but now I feel like he's creeping back up into a lot of guild lists.
Because the thing is, you can sort of make Molly's hand go away eventually. And when you do that, you do a focus attack on Archie. And because he's defense 4 and you're stat 7, that difference actually makes it so that you get a straight flip more often than not.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
I wasn't going into Archie because I knew that if I went into Archie with Lucius, Archie could attack Lucius back and just repeatedly heal off of the flexible morality.
I have done that before. Not with Lucius, because Lucius usually kills Archie. I feel like a good Lucius player kind of keeps his eye on Archie, and then once they have the hand and the situation, then they'll go into Archie and just kill him. So I feel like a good Lucius player doesn't go into him until he's ready to kill him. So, but yeah, if you do mess up, I have gone into models like I think my favorite one was Corvus Rook. He's like inflexible morality. I was like, cool. I'm going to pitch this to heal the damage you did and punch you, and then I'm going to do it again and punch you.
It's just very sad when you have a model that's like minimum damage 2 that relies on tricks to murder people. And those tricks are not going to work on Archie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's so sad.
Alan's garage is not taking down Archie anytime soon.
Yeah.
But that was actually, so my plan to deal with Archie was Alan though. Get him up into base to base.
He can't leap.
He can't leap, and he can't get past my negatives to hit me. So he can disengage and go get something else, and then eventually leap. But that's great.
That's build your
ideal.
own big brain. That's basically what that is.
Yeah,
build your own.
I was playing Yanlo too, though, so I had some obey shenanigans to kind of keep myself out of that situation.
And you did it. Yeah, you managed to do that really well. That was at least my plan. It mixed success, I'd say. At times it worked, and then you got out.
You got to remember, Nathan, I am a Bayou player at heart, so 12 cups is always on my mind.
Shenanigans are there.
So yeah, I mean, you did really well with the list. So I mean, is there any kind of struggles that you think the list has, though? Because I know some people think, Lucius2 is just really good, and you can kind of just go kill things, but I think that's kind of a pit trap if you kind of fall into it.
You can punch it in the face. Like go to it's honestly a GG3 alpha crew and punch it in the face, and it's going to struggle some.
Yeah.
It doesn't like pass token crews. As Dixon said, you can kind of claw back with some kills to get activation control, but it's not. That's, especially for my style, not my style. And into my game against Yoko, I really thought I had control of that game, but like the last 3 turns, he had like 4 actions after I was done activating, and I was really, I'm just sitting there like chewing my nails. Like I can stop stuff from just doing what it wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's like you have to find the right time to jump in. But the problem is when you have a crew like Yoko, we'll use that as an example, they have the ability to just say, I'm going to hold back Hinamatsu and Bill until I really want them. Or sometimes, because talking to Landon, this is actually a thing that happens more often than I thought. He mentioned the demon. I forget the name of the demon, but the big demon costs 10.
Amanzako or whatever his name is.
Amanosako. Because Amanosako can be in that crew, and she gets double positives on hidden damage by using a flicker and focus.
Oh, God.
See? And like if you're playing against somebody that relies heavily on harder wound, then you're just going to start losing models.
Yeah.
Just left, right, and center.
Yeah, that was... I killed all the soft stuff to like early in the game. But Bill, Hinamatsu, Yoko, and then the Terracotta, because it was my take prisoner, were left. And so I couldn't kill for activation control anymore, and it was just me trying to put down stones, scheme. I wasn't going to I just didn't have the muscle to put down Bill.
I think you said you played into Sam. But have you played into like a Maw Tucket that can generate pass tokens? Is that a problem?
That was his. Sam was Maw Tucket 1. And he did use it to go in with Ma the final turn, or the final action. I got lucky turn 1 in that he Black Jokered hit one of his attacks. So honestly, it was the most managed I could hope, but it was. I mean, it was one of my 2 losses, and I don't think I ever felt like I was in a good spot in that game, the whole game. Like he had control for pretty much the whole game.
Maw Tucket's good, folks. Play your Maw Tucket.
Yeah, spicy takes here at the Rage Quit Wire.
Yeah, I know, right? More like milkworm, not very hot takes. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, pass tokens. I'm kind of interested because I've talked with a couple people offline who think pass tokens are actually kind of a problem. I'm curious to see if you think that's the case, or if there's something maybe weird can do with pass tokens, or is it just kind of something we got to deal with in this world?
I mean, I do, because I'm a guild player so we don't really do pass tokens, so I think they're a problem. I don't think there'd be as much of a problem. I think the way that Yuko's crew is built, it's a problem that it generates so many.
Yeah.
And I think easily splashed models like Jin are a problem. Like Frogsham was a problem. They fixed that.
Yes.
I don't mind it. Like for Ma, if the whole package wasn't so crazy, it would be fine. Like having it be a part of a master's package, that's fine. But it shouldn't be something that's easily brought in by bringing a single out keyword model that's good anyways.
I think that currently, because I agree with you, I think currently the only way that I can feasibly fix the pass token problem is to rein back the pass token generation a little bit. Because I think the pass token is a fantastic thing for the game.
Yeah.
But the fact that now, as the years have progressed, we've gotten too many models that can just generate pass tokens. Because, like, let's go back to, like, GG1, when Yoko wasn't a thing. Yoko was completely, like basically the same. She generated a whole bunch of pass tokens if somebody said the scheme, and it wasn't a problem. But nowadays, it became a problem, so we just have to look at why. And to be perfectly honest, we're saying Yoko, but in reality, she is not a problem. I think the problem is Landon Sheehan, so we need to nerf him.
That's fair.
No, but like jokes aside, we use her as an example because everybody that plays at a competitive level knows that Yoko generates like a bajillion pass tokens, right? But you set a model that actually does cause some problems, which is Jin Bakura.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, or Bill. Bill's a great example of an out of keyword take that brings in pass tokens for you.
Who?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill out.
Oh, Bill Aldrin.
Because
No,
if you
you're
reveal
right.
a scheme or whatever, he gets like 2 pass tokens, right? Is that it?
He gets one.
One per scheme reveal, I think.
Yeah, pretty silly.
No, it's just one.
Is it one either way?
Yeah, it's leverage is you get one scheme. You get one pass token for every model with leverage. That's the ability. The ability is called leverage.
But yeah, it can. That's I think where I see the problem is stuff like that can be brought in out of keyword to give crews that otherwise wouldn't have it.
Yeah, so weird. We need to take care of this pass token problem, not the Kruligan problem. So just remember that.
So I do have. I want to say Dixon's. I agree with Dixon that pass tokens are a good thing to exist.
Yeah.
I think as 2E players, we saw what that was like in the pre-pass token summon era.
Didn't I hear a guild player talk about like having a crap ton of guard patrol and just the amount of nonsense that the activations were with that?
Okay, so I ran that into Jim at a team tournament.
Yeah, Jim was the one telling me about that.
Yeah, I ran that into Jim. It was the first time we ever played, and like I didn't remember that we had met each other, and then I met him in 3E, and we were talking. He was like, "Yeah, I've been to the Haven. I played against this guy who played the guild guard spam." And I was like, "Oh my god, that was definitely me." Yeah, when they went 3 stones, it was stupid. I don't know why I think I lost one. I played 3 games with that list of that tournament. Lost one to Jeff Mansker, but only that was because I didn't read Zoraita's card carefully. I think I could have handled it otherwise.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think pass tokens for purpose, because you could just out model your opponent and then just, activate your good stuff late, right? So it's one of those things where pass tokens offsets that. But and I think Weird is working through a lot of this stuff on how to make pass tokens a little better. I think we saw that with the Somer errata where, if you kill their easy to kill models, yeah, you get a pass token for them. But if you kill them before they activate, that pass token goes away. So it kind of creates now a new mini game with those pass tokens.
Yeah. To be honest, the summer change, although fantastic, was to buff him. Yeah. So it wasn't like, because the thing is that he was generating pass tokens for the opponent, and pass tokens were too powerful. So I don't know. I don't think that we should change the pass token rule itself. I just want to clarify. I just want to reiterate that. I think what we said before is just they can just rein in whatever model. Because I didn't even think about that. It's right. Hinamatsu and Bill, when coming out of keyword, are problems if you can abuse that pass token generation after a revealed scheme. But is it like skewing the game enough? That's the part that I'm kind of figuring out. What's the name? Last Blossom, Misaki. Misaki can bring Jin, and I played against Bill Algren, and I inadvertently, because I couldn't score my schemes, did not give him an extra pass token. But that Jin, just the pass token from Jin, was actually a huge problem. Because I was playing Pandora, and I just didn't. It didn't occur to me at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's great in Last Blossom. It's great in Ivan. It's great in
Yeah.
most of
Explorers in general.
Yeah, because he's Explorers, isn't he? So it's like other Explorers crews that take him, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah, Pete got like tired of seeing his face when I was playing Explorers.
I want more tech like Lucius 1. I want, if you spend a pass token, I get a card.
I like that. I like
Put a
that.
cost on it.
Yeah, on a versatile model on factions like Bayou or.
Well, I think that's a
maybe
good way to
Neverborn. I'm not even
respond
sure on Neverborn.
to things that you're starting to see in your game. Like, I know, for example, we played a little commander in while we were at the Booty and Plunder, and something that I would argue probably is a problem or starting to become a problem in Commander specifically is those treasure tokens, right? Because you have a bunch of cards now that just puke out treasure tokens. And
somebody got touched by smothering tithe, and it's just like.
Well, no, I'm not even saying that. Like, there's a lot of cards now that put out just treasure tokens to the point where now people are starting to bring cards that are like, oh, when you tap an artifact, you take a point of damage and stuff like this. And I think it's the same thing that we could do in Malifaux, where it's like, if pass tokens really start becoming a problem, create some models where it's like, oh yeah, if you use a pass token, your opponent gets to pick a model that takes like 2 damage or something.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think if Bayou and Guild were to get a few models either change or introduce into the game that do something about that'd be great. Because right now, Guild only has it on Lucius 1, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I love that idea. Both of you guys' idea. And if Guild were to get something like counterintelligence, do damage whenever somebody uses a pass token, or at the end of the turn for every pass token, somebody has to take damage, something like that. Because like Bayou kind of has something similar with Summer, but I think one versatile or out of keyword model that has something against that would be also great.
I like the idea of it being something that you can still avoid. So you have pass tokens. You can choose to spend them. If you spend them, Lucius is getting you cards. If you save them for the initiative, you're still getting that bonus.
Yeah.
If you're using them for leverage, you're still getting that bonus. So like having it be something that affects how they can use their markers, and they can still use them both ways, but it makes like at a different cost.
Yeah,
I think puts different pressures on the game that are interesting.
Yeah, but not master stuck. Like it can't be on a master. I would like to see it on a model that you can pick out a keyword.
Yeah, if we're gonna have more models with pass tokens, and there's not a lot, but I mean, with a whole keyword dealing with it, it feels like a lot. I feel like, but if we're gonna have it and then have it even more here and there, I think then introducing some new models that can, either do something about it, or they can punish your opponent for it, or you get a benefit off them using it. Honestly, though, playing Molly, I don't hate pass tokens as much anymore because I just have pass tokens known as Kruligans, so it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just have this model that should be like they literally. I just wish for that. Swap the cost of the Rabble Rouser with the Kruligan, please. That way we can see some Rabble Rousers in the game. Maybe.
Probably not.
Exactly.
You went unbeaten with that Molly. I mean, kind of suggests the problem, right? Like,
actually, Nathan, we looked at stats and stuff. Molly is at like 70% win rate with the highest play rate. So it's not just Pete. It's disgusting.
Listen, I've talked about this before. She's just, and actually, I think Lucius2 is a pretty decent matchup into Molly. Just because, I mean, one, I like it because then Molly gets to draw a bunch of cards, but because you're always going to have a grip. And then, but I also think it's a good matchup into Molly because if I overextend or get cautious with the Kruligans, I mean, you just kill them with Lucius and it becomes then not a problem. So I have to play more cagey in that respect. So it kind of creates this interesting positional game.
Honestly, double leap kill Kruligan is the only first turn option with
Yes.
that matchup.
Well,
You don't do anything else.
Well, that's why
You take the 2 damage
against
from Molly, you just accept it.
against crews like that, I just put them in the farthest corner of my deployment zone and just be like, if you're going to come in, you're going to come in deep, and then you're going to take my beaters to the face.
That's what we mean when we say double leap stab, because that's what Lucius does. Secret passage, murder.
Molly creates that problem, like we were talking about with Archie earlier, but it's kind of true with the whole crew. That usually that flexible morality is a wonderful tax, and it's part of why I'm not afraid to throw Lucius into a crowd.
I don't like Anna out of keyword, but I think against Lucius2 I would consider it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anna kicks me in the teeth a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I'm
like
shocked
that
he targeted actions too.
What?
So
how dare you say that as if it was a bad thing? It's like, oh, this Anna model.
I don't like
super broken.
I don't like bringing
Maybe I'll bring her,
but I don't like bringing her a lot. It's just I'm starting to get reps where I find good spots for her. I think she was way better last GG. This GG, when people aren't fighting in an area, sometimes she's not good.
Me and Maeve talked about that if she doesn't get a board, she really doesn't participate.
Yeah.
And that's a bigger problem. That's a big problem this GG.
Yeah, but I could see Anna babysitting Kruligans. It could be fun.
Anna babysitting Kruligans is actually like cancer, in my opinion, because you don't need to hide them as far back if Anna is literally there. That's sad to hear.
Yep.
You're making me look up the Kruligan card.
Oh yeah, that's 4 points, dude. That's the bigger issue. That's the reason why I said swap out the cost.
Oh man,
dude, and then...
let me tell you what. Hold up your forces with Kruligans is pretty ridiculous because you can score that on almost anything.
Yeah,
I can score that on totems. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can score it on totems.
It's so dumb.
Hold up forces on totems. Ouroboros. What's up? Kind of wrapping this thing up though, Nathan, I did want to get your opinion on not opinion, but I want to if you could tell people, what are some things to get your practice with, what are some things to avoid with Lucius? Because I feel like there are a lot of people that are going to kind of start giving him a go. So what are some tips and tricks that you might give for a Lucius2 player specifically?
So you got to get reps. That's the biggest thing. You got to tank reps. Don't underestimate once he's eaten your hand, how fragile the rest of your crew is going to be. You have to have that card engine. That's why Alan's in the crew. Because you got to have a really nice card engine going, because after he uses your cards, your crew gets real fragile. I almost never go into Soulstone users or masters with Lucius. Not that he can't do it, but it's just not a good use of his actions most of the time. And when I do, I regret it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the reps thing is probably the biggest thing. I mean, it's like that with any crew, but specifically this, because there's so many interactions that you got to do with your models amongst themselves to generate cards. And then you also have to get reps to figure out, okay, well, how do I progress this game to score my points? How do I avoid stop my opponent from scoring points? And that's just going to take crap ton of reps with Lucius2 and his crew. I think piloting Lucius himself is actually pretty easy because it's just leap, go kill something, or go scheme, go score. The rest of the crew, I think, is where I imagine you would spend a lot of your reps trying to figure out.
Knowing when to throw your marker just to get points rather than somewhere to get the triggers is I think, the other tricky part. And once you start, I think I messed that up in one of my losses, and it really upset me because I could have played that better.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna mention that, but that's actually very important because the scheme marker can win you games if you just throw it into a empty space in quotations.
Yeah,
because I've scored many schemes just by throwing it 12 inches completely into a corner, and everybody's like, crap, he has X, Y, and Z. But what I was gonna mention, because there's two things, and maybe Nathan, you can tell me if this actually works for you, but I have 2 to 3 models that are just giving me cards in advancing the crew without actually moving from the deployment zone, like lawyers, like the steward, because the steward is there to give out focus to my beaters, usually to either Lucius or to the peacekeeper or to the pale rider. You know, you get where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So once you set up that in the list, you need to do the reps, like you were saying, to get those cards. Like if you don't cycle through them, because I remember with Harley, we played a few games and we talked through it, where Harley, as a new player, he had to like get that flow going to like, okay, I activate the lawyer, I tools for the job so I can have a tome, so that I can do the impassioned defense, draw a card because of surge, blah 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 blah. And you see where I'm going with this?
Oh yeah.
Is there? And I have one more point after this, but do you have anything that you would like add into that flow to make it easier?
Practice your unpack. Just set it up, run through it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Know
but
what
like,
it does. Know where you gotta spend cards. Know what order you gotta do things. What you gotta look for, because it's gonna take some time.
yeah, but I mean, as in like after you unpack, like because it's a thing that you have to do pretty much every turn.
Yeah, no, but the unpack's you're not having to be reactive in the unpack in the same way, except for to your own hand. You do have to be reactive to your own hand in that crew and when stuff's on the top of the deck.
Gotcha.
But your later turns, you're having to be reactive, so you can't practice it alone the same way, which is where the reps come in.
Okay. So basically, practice your turn one without an opponent first, and then after that, okay. I like.
Well, because
that
I think
idea.
it is very much a reactionary crew, right? Like you were kind of saying in your game versus Nick, there were a couple times where you thought you had him really pinned up against the wall, and he wouldn't be able to react that well out of it. But then he did get out of it, so then you had to react a different way to try and progress the game after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
then making that decision of do I react or do I keep trying to do what I'm trying to do
Yep.
to get my schemes is a really hard thing.
And this is where like we differ, because my next point was going to be basically as a player is different. So you're more reactive than I am, so therefore his list is actually incredibly strong as a catcher's mitt. I know because when I play with Dade is because like Alan Reed is because of that. It's like, okay, they're gonna come into me. Reed is going to slow them down. What I was gonna point out is basically learn how to, in my opinion, this is me, learn which model to kill if it's squishy enough for you to take it out and run away. Because sometimes I'll just go kill a totem. Just, it's not even threatening me, but I'll kill a totem before he activates and then run away. Just because I get to now dictate when the last activation happens. And I don't know about you, but I feel that that's a very strong tool that Lucius has.
It's a tool I probably don't use enough. It is a strong tool. I absolutely agree. And it's one I probably don't use enough. I pick out the models I want to try to kill with Lucius, and those are my targets. And they're the totems. Especially significant totems. Significant totems are high on my list to kill.
Yep.
Number
And
one.
honestly, though, Glass Cannon Enforcers.
Also true.
Absolutely. Glass Cannon Enforcers, Lone Marshal, The Damned were two that I got. Or not Lone Marshal, Lone Swordsman, The Damned were two I got during the events. Turn one that really made my opponent's job hard.
I love killing the Damned just because I know Dixon's like, I told you so. I told you the Damned sucks.
It does suck. I don't understand why people try to defend it. It's like,
Well, looking at my list that I was playing, I played against Austin at the event twice because I played him in the team tournament and then the next day. And both games, if the Damned crossed the center line, I was like, well, now I'm going to go kill it with Archie. So, yeah.
I think you all had that episode where you talked about the Hunter Killer, the Schemer Killer models.
beater schemers.
Because those are so strong, this GG, the Damned's going to struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally
Listening to this conversation, I do find it interesting, though, because I feel like, and I don't think this is like 100% for sure, but I do feel like if you play Lucius in red, meaning in guild,
Yeah.
I feel like it does play a really good catcher's mitt kind of style. Whereas if you play in purple with Neverborn, I feel like you can switch and be offensive with Neverborn easier than you can with guild.
There are guild lists that are not catcher's mitts. They use Lone Marshal, they use Melissa, they
Pale
use
Rider.
Peacekeeper.
Yeah,
It's
all
just
of those that
not,
you said plus Pale Rider.
not my style.
That's
Pale.
me.
Okay, so you can
That's
do
not
it.
my
You can do it a little bit in Guild as well.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that Lucius plays the same way in both Neverborn and Guild. The difference is the player. And that's the reason why I says, like, if you're a reactive player, if you are more like, come at me and I'll defend myself, instead of like me, where it's like, "Rah!" Jump into the person. So I think it's more like, first, determine what type of player you are. Or if you can actually go, back and forth between the two, determine if you're the beat down. As like, this is an old conversation from back in the day.
Yeah.
Determine who's the beat down. So yeah, no. Listening to Nathan, it just makes me realize like I basically have to practice more being the catcher's mitt just so that I can react better, because it's actually a great way to like.
And by catcher's mitt, we're just talking about like you tentatively kind of set a line, but you're not overextending. And you kind of wait for maybe a more aggressive player, for a person to kind of finally break the line and kind of come into your models, as opposed to you overextending.
Yes, it's in terms of like old Roman, because like a lot of people have been looking at that lately, is that shield wall where you have the spikes. You are the catcher's mitt because you're waiting for the horde to come into
the tip of the spear, if you will.
Yeah, so that when you're a catcher's mitt, you're waiting for the alpha, you're waiting for the line to come into you, and then you're like, okay, now, ka-chow, ka-chow.
Well, I think Lucius is good at both of those, like you're saying, depending on your play style. And I think the list that you shared with us, Nathan, is very much that catcher's mitt, where it's like you want it to stay together, and when something comes in, it's not going to be able to hit at its optimal kind of like abilities.
Yeah, and tentatively, I don't want to say that Lucius is the best beater schemer master, but he's gotta be out there.
Him and Seamus, pretty good.
Yeah, because like Misaki is coming out of the woodworks too. She's doing really good, and she's been known to be a beater schemer. So it's like, I wonder if who's gonna come out on top towards the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see.
I know Seamus doesn't get keyword play.
That's true,
but I think his keyword could play a very similar style to what I'm playing.
Oh yeah, I played against Brandon into his Seamus, and he brought almost exclusively keyword, and the Doxies had like Grave Spirit's Touch on them, so that was annoying. And they're dandies there, switching schemes into corpses or vice versa, whatever it does. And yeah, and it's very mobile because they all have like take by the hand and lures and all this other crazy crap. So, and then Seamus is just jumping around. So I think it's kind of interesting how Seamus and Lucius share a lot of like similarities there, where it's
the
like
DNA.
Yeah, they could be like hanging out in keyword, or you could kind of go with that Super Friends kind of vibe.
To the listeners, I just want to clarify something that Pete said that's actually very strong. The reason why I laughed when he said Grey Spirit's Touch on the dandies and the little girls is that Scarlet Temptation is a thing. Look at the cards. You're going to see how hard it is to hit that Terrifying 11 when you're at negative C or willpower.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Oh, God. I didn't do that. Yeah, that's horrible.
That's when I decided. So it's kind of funny, right? And this is just kind of a general tip for people. So there are bad combos like that in the game. And I'm sure, Nathan, since you play all that nonsense with Lucius, like I said, you recognize when a player's like, oh, crap, this is a terrible position to be in. So there was a point in that game with Brandon where I was like, okay, I could sit here and keep pounding on like these stupid minions. But instead, I'm going to take the Dead Rider and ride with me my models past all this nonsense and just go do something else.
Yeah. As a reminder, I lost the game in the Lone Star Showdown to Travis because Travis refused to fight me.
Yeah, just like, and there's times where it's
I kill like,
go past this nonsense. It's not
dude,
worth it.
Killed 40 points of models. He killed 10. And I lost the game by 2 points. I was like, how? There's nothing alive.
Look, I respect a non-killing win list so much. It's something I really appreciate.
Yeah, and I'm sure that if you find yourself in that situation where it's like, I'm hitting stuff and it's not doing anything, and you're playing against something like, a Lucius, or you're playing something like, a Seamus, where you're just kind of hitting stuff and nothing's happening, you're just wasting AP. Most of the time, just get out of there. Like, it can be tough. but just get out of there.
When we say dirtle,
that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Not just tilt and just swing for swings.
Yeah, when we say dirtle, that's what we mean dirtling. It's like, yeah, you're doing things, but those are worthless things.
Yeah.
That's dirtling.
Yeah, and it was the same thing in Houston when I was playing against I was actually playing against the other Nathan. But he had Maw 2 and he just catapulted Maw 2 into my Sand Deep crew. And for a second I kind of started fighting, and then Scamper happened and I was like, oh yeah, this is why I shouldn't be doing this. And then I started just teleporting and shoving my crew, and I'm like, Maw can just sit back here. It's like, I don't care, I'm going.
Yeah.
So definitely an important lesson.
Jim's taught me that lesson with Ma too before. So yeah, I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, unless you have very specific tech, it most of the time it just isn't worth it. And I've learned that a lot with Dixon, because Dixon plays that style where he's like, it's actually a little different because he throws it into your face and is like, deal with this problem. And most of the time it's like, or I could just not. And that's why I like Sand Deep, because most of the Dixon's problems that he sends me, I just toss it 10 inches away with Banasuva, so that was always fun.
I will not, like, that was...
Tossing Hinamatsu.
Yeah, I played Lucius 2 against him in the Lone Star. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but it was funny because, like, he literally tossed Hinamatsu twice in the same game.
Great.
Made her completely worthless. It's like, well... I guess. She took no damage. Was like, all right, fuck it.
I was playing some Nelly 2 the other day, and I put Bo Peep. It was 16 inches back into his deployment zone while slow.
That hurts.
On one false reality. And it was just like, oh, this is so wonderful.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, representing the guild well there, Nathan. I mean, are you finding them pretty well here in GG4?
I liked him more in GG3. I like Lucius a lot in GG4, and I haven't found anyone else that I truly jam with. As I said, I tried to do Sonya. That was a disaster. Nelly, I'm starting to get my reps in and feeling all right in it, but it's a completely different game than playing Nelly in GG3.
Yeah, I actually think her title might have a lot of play in this GG. Her title's pretty interesting.
It can, but it just... So, you know, you talked about having the schemer killer models that can hunt stuff down. She hates that. Because you teleport someone out there, and if they can chase them down and kill them, she does struggle. So
the newsies don't last very long.
You have to figure out what to do in the alternative in that situation, and I haven't figured that out yet. So I don't think Nelly's is good into the builds that are good in GG4 as a whole, but I think she could still have play because she can do it. I think Dashel's going to do well with both.
I think Dashel should see a ton more play. Like, if you're a guild player and you're like, man, I want to, try something that I think a lot of people aren't trying, but it's going to be really good. I think it's Dashel. I think his original, and if you get something where it's like, ooh, this might be bad for Dashel 1, then just slam Bashel down and just kill things.
So in that link that I sent in the chat, the three are Nelly 1, Lucius 2, and Dashel 1 as the highest win rate.
Dashel 1 is so good, and if you don't think he's good, you're just wrong. Like, if you're a guild player, you should be playing Dashel at least some. He's just good. He
is. He's solid. Summoners are back. They're not like OP,
Summoners are back,
but
baby.
They're back. Yeah, they're back. So I know that their guild is struggling lately. In a general sense, they're the worst faction in the game right now, technically by 42%. But I think it's just the player base. I don't know what's happening. The player base is struggling.
I do have to argue against this, because this is one of the things that drives me crazy about the game in general. When Neverborn was at like 42%, everyone was like, "Oh, those poor Neverborn, we need to buff them."
Yeah,
guild gets to 42%. It's like, "Oh, those players."
Well, I said the player base is struggling, not because the faction is struggling. I don't think it's the faction struggling. Okay, so I guess it's a language thing. I don't mean the faction needs a buff. I mean the players need to adjust.
I hear you exactly, and I'm saying that's what I say no.
Nathan's absolutely like, no, buff them.
Give those buffs to those guild players. I'll say yes, there's stuff in guild that you can do well with. That was true for Neverborn last edition, or in GG3. That's always true in this game. The game is not that spread out. But for guild players to be able to play in the same kind of spread out as other factions, they are and be competitive, they would need a buff.
I do want to ask you one title that I think I'm interested in, and I think it would do well in this GG. Have you given any look to the Tall Silent title?
Yeah, I played a fair amount of him in Nova, actually.
Seems pretty good.
I like him. He's going to struggle. Here's the problem, is that it's almost that same problem we just talked about. His best killers at this point are the Hexbows, which have strengths and weaknesses. They're easy. They're not very tough. So if you have schemer killers, they're going to
now
kick
that
those out, and then you don't have much kill.
Now that we're talking about it,
running,
because you're talking about like guild maybe needing a couple of just good models, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Does guild have a lot of great schemer beaters? I'm not really thinking of a ton off the top of my head.
The horses, undercover reporter. Honestly, the Hexbows fit into that category for me.
They don't scheme in that location though. They kill from range. They kill from range
and they pick up scheme markers. That's good enough for me. They're not scheming. They're picking up markers.
A model that can walk, leap, attack, or maybe pitch a card to get a free attack. Like I'm trying to think. But those are expensive, dude. And you don't. Yeah. I don't think you want the lone marshal to scheme a lot, right? I think you want to shoot.
I don't want my lone marshal dropping scheme markers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you guys. I'm just saying those are the only choices. They're not spoiled for choice. When we were talking about the beater schemers in that episode, I specifically said they don't have many options.
Yeah,
it's just going to be the horses.
I think honestly, you might see a resurgence of Lady J1.
She's a beater schemer for sure.
Yeah, but she's losing at 43% win rate with 52 games. Like she's like the second highest played.
Just play Lady J. Play Lady J1 with the good stuff.
I wish. I honestly, I believe it's just that the players just haven't adjusted. I'm not saying that Nathan is wrong because I think he is right.
I think there is. This is a harder GG for us than GG3. No question. It's doesn't play to our strength the same way. You have to have action efficiency, and we often don't.
See, but that's why I like Dashel 1 though, because you have the riders, you have ways to move models, you're drawing some cards. The executioners can become very mobile. They're good at picking up scheme markers. I think honestly, if I was going to look at like how to play in guild in this GG, I think Dashel 1 has a ton of answers into it. Yeah,
I think if I wasn't and I do try to bring like just one or two masters to an event.
Yeah, smart.
I just don't have that much wavelength in my head. Dashel would, if it wasn't Lucius, I'd be trying Dashel, I think.
There you go. Somebody take up that gauntlet and don't make me do it because I'll do it.
Do it.
I'm playing Dashel.
You've played against my Dashel before.
Is that when we pretty new? Is that when we did the online league like during COVID? And I think you just evaporated everything I love.
Yeah, and that was pre Dashel buff, I think, though.
Yeah, it was.
But it was still But that was one, and I wanted to apologize because it clearly bothered you more than I realized it did.
Because I still mention it on the podcast to this day.
Yeah, but I didn't want to apologize for that because I think we just had very different expectations about what
this is when was. I was like, I'm going to play my Hamlin. I'm a new player, and then here comes Nathan. You're playing, and this is before You didn't have to tell you were doing like a double master. So Nathan just slams Sonya on the table. And I'm just like, oh, what did Sonya do? Oh, no.
Oh, that is so funny.
It was a grim one. It really
Clubbing
was.
Seals over here in my, I was surprised that I still played Malifaux after that game.
Oh, no. Well, I'm glad you stuck around.
Bro, that is so funny.
It was. I mean, in retrospect, it was funny. Afterwards, I was just like, "Well, I guess I got some work to do to get better at this game."
Well, that's the thing about stories. Like, I say stories that are self-deprecating all the time because they're funny now. But at the time, I was so furious.
Hey, you don't need to apologize for that. It was pretty funny, but I was salty about it for a bit. It was okay.
I can't believe so. I don't think Dixon, I don't think we ever ran into each other to play a game. It's so weird to me that you were in Northern Virginia and we never played.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was at Huzzah.
Exactly. Like, I play at Huzzah regularly, so...
And I think I went there for like 2 tournaments ever, so that's probably why. But like,
Yeah.
it's so wild to me that we never ran into each other.
Yeah, I played in GG1, GG1, look at me. In the first version of Malifaux, like, all over the US. We
wow.
went to, I won the first Adepticon. I got second at Gen Con twice. Like, it was just like, you know, regularly played. But then I took like a sabbatical for a while, and then, you know, came back to 3E, and in 3E, there's a lot of sharks. Like, a lot of sharks. So, yeah, no, the quality of player has been like I shouldn't have taken a break. Let me put it that way, for like 5 years.
I mean, you were playing a lot of Guild Ball in that break, though.
I did, and I did love Guild Ball. The prison style, I hate it. I just hate, you know, when you can't like play the game anymore. So that's why I stopped playing.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I think that's kind of a good spot to hold it up there, Nathan. I don't know if there's something you want to plug or something you want to shout out real quick before we roll up out of here.
Yeah, we got I'm not running the Richmond Open this year, but someone else is. It's going to be a 2-day GT in the first weekend of May in Richmond. Come check it out. It's actually outside. Last year it was in the city of Richmond. This year it's at the state fairgrounds right outside of Richmond. Nice. So it's free parking. You don't have to get a hotel right there. You can get a hotel nearby and drive in. If you're going and you want to get a hotel but you don't want to get like a rental car or something, give me a call. I'll be driving in and I can pick up people. But I'd like to see people there. It'll be a good time. It'll be a GT, and I think Henchman Hardcore the Friday night. I won't be there for that, but it'll be a good event.
Cool. Yeah, and that's one I got my eye on, and once teenager issues resolve themselves, then I hope to travel more. So it's not going to be this year, but I'm hoping next year maybe the wife and I can do a road trip or something, but soon. Gotta try.
It's a good place to get your feet wet on GTs that aren't like the best players in the country, because the fact is it doesn't get a lot of people traveling for it. Like, we got Joel and Joe and Maeve traveling for it last year. What is his name? I feel bad. I didn't know, gentleman, I forgot his name. And John from Georgia.
Nice.
But it wasn't like a lot of the sharks and stuff. So it's a good chance to play a 5-day event and not feel like, oh my God.
You mean a 5-round event, not 5-day event?
Oh yeah, 5-round. Yeah, 5-day event is my dream, but it hasn't happened yet.
That'd be nuts. My brain would be like after like Captain Con, I was just like, I don't even want to think about Malifaux, and I didn't. And now I'm
4 days of Nova was rough. I've done it twice now, and that's a lot.
All I know is listen. I'm gonna leave it here. I've been playing Rezzers, and I don't know if this is the internet's way to try to get me out of playing Rezzers. But if I don't start hearing some Dashel nonsense being played, I'm gonna play him again. So somebody needs to
thank you.
Dixon's like, yeah, if I don't have to play Molly ever again, that would be great.
Please and thank you.
Network is around. It's big, and that's gonna make it for it. So
maybe that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna play Molly enough to maybe get her nerfed, and then I'll just move to something else. And the Rezzer players will be like, dang you, Pete.
I mean, if you play Dashel, then I won't play Tall or Lady J2 or Lucius in the red. You won't see that.
You know me, Dixon. I had so much fun playing Dashel. It was so good. So good. All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank everybody for tuning on in. But until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables. And we will see you all later.